Hey, Mackenzie here. So in chapter 13, I'm going to be talking about the section interpersonal communication process and communication barriers. It was a short section, but it had a lot of information in it. So the book starts talking about how interpersonal communication is also called like one-on-one and small group communication, but it's also one of the most important skills employers seek in hiring new hirees. So that was quite interesting to know. It's pretty obvious communication is important, but it's good to see that it is there in the book saying that. Then it goes on to talk about the process of communication. Now, something that was really interesting to me was look at this image, if you can see it. So we have a sender and a receiver, and there you go. And so it talks about the process of like people communicating, which it's like, yeah, we talk back and forth and have conversations, but it really is really interesting to see it broken down. So the sender, the first thing that happens in the communication process is the sender encodes a message and selects the transmission channel, so like how they're going to send it through. The message is then transmitted through a channel. The receiver decodes the message in their way that they receive it, I assume, and decides if feedback is needed. Sometimes feedback is not, and I guess you just walk away. Then the fourth thing is feedback, response, or new message may be transmitted through the channel. And the thing is that's interesting is like you can read this and that took you a couple seconds to read it, but this all happens in like 1 or 2 seconds. Like I'm talking to you and then you can talk to me and say something back, but we don't think about the process of it. So it was really interesting to see that broken down. Let me just pause that. And so after it talks about that, it mentions the barriers. So in the barriers, there's many. And the amount of barriers, it was kind of like crazy. I was just like, wow, I wouldn't have thought about that, but it is what it is. So there's perception, information overload, channel selection, noise, trust and credibility, poor listening, emotions, filtering, language/culture. And that is the main portion of them. And it's really interesting to read through each one and see like why these are barriers. Of course, perception, we all perceive things differently when we hear something, see something, or do anything. It's our own way of seeing the world. Poor listening, yeah, that's definitely a barrier because people hear what they want to hear. I know I do sometimes, and when I'm talking, especially politics, oh dang. You only want to hear what you want to hear. But, so yeah, it was really interesting to see that. Emotions, filtering, like, all that stuff, and how these are definitely barriers in communication. So yeah, that was my section. Thanks.